Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse podcast here at Manifest in the podcast studio that they have provided so nicely. And I'm going to be joined by Scott Shaffer. He is, let's shake the hands there, good sir. And you are the solution design engineer, correct?
Correct, yes.
At thirdwave Automation. And thirdwave Automation, we've had on the show a couple times. Mike Myers, our friend over there, he sent over Scott here. He told me to beat him up a little bit. Torture him on the mic. Yeah. So why don't you kind of give us a little overview of thirdwave automation for people that maybe are not familiar?
Yeah, so thirdwave automation, we're a autonomous forklift provider,
right.
But we kind of do things slightly differently than I would say, the generic fully autonomous forklifts that you see out there, some of the vendors that are in the space and they've been here for a while. So for us, we really kind of lay into the fact that, warehouse is super dynamic, lots of different things going on. So if anyone's telling you they can be fully autonomous all the time, right, that's probably slightly false.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that happen in a warehouse that are tough to overcome from an autonomy standpoint. So for us, we try to keep a human in the loop, if you will, with something we call shared autonomy, which means that we have a remote operator station as well. And you have, someone, whether it's a thirdwave employee, whether it's a employee from the customer, whoever it is, that's kind of manning this booth. They're overseeing the fleet of the vehicles. So when something comes up that's, an issue or problem that we don't know how to solve autonomously, we can ping that remote operator who can then come in and kind of put that human touch on it, if you will, whether that means rescuing the vehicle, just logging in, looking at the camera feeds, making sure everything around it's safe, continue on. And that can kind of really save a lot of time in the fact of, a person doesn't have to walk all the way out there, whether it's a 1 million square foot facility, find the truck, where is it, what's it doing, assess the situation. They can kind of solve that with, a 5-10 second assist and go on from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's so smart too. Not only just from the perspective of dealing with those exceptions, but also from the perspective of almost kind of like easing into automation a little bit, right? It still kind of gives a little bit more of that comfort level that, hey, if I got to jump in here, I can jump in here, right?
Exactly. And, having that human still in the loop, it means from really day one, you can come up and get running a lot quicker. Some of these things where if you're doing full autonomy, right, it's a full process change to get there. So for us, you can kind of take that step of deploy us, still have a human in the loop. Maybe they're doing, more of the harder tasks for the time being until that process change comes into effect, and then kind of pull that human out a little bit more, get more trucks in there, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's very smart to approach it in that way. And I want to touch too on, because the form factor that you guys chose for automation to begin with was a reach truck,
correct?
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm curious the idea behind that, because you mentioned there's other providers in the space. I'm sure we're all aware, right? But a lot of them, I think, started out with like a pallet jack, right?
Exactly.
Just moving
pallet jack, tugger,
right? So tell us why kind of the initial thought was let's go big, right?
Yeah, let's go big.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that we targeted with that reach truck really was a lot of those warehousing applications, right? When you get into a big warehouse with a whole bunch of racking, it's, I would say, more of a constrained problem that you're running into, right?
Okay.
You have set limitations that you're looking at. You have set things to coordinate off of for pallet pickups and movements, that I think that was a good place to target. And I think the market wasn't fully saturated in that area as well, right? There's a lot of those tuggers, pallet jacks, things like that you mentioned out there. So I think we're trying to solve the bigger problem where we can still do those horizontal transports with our reach truck, but we can also then go vertical with it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very smart to do that at the time you did, because like you said, when you guys came out and launched, I mean, there wasn't really much going on in that space in terms of the reach, right? And that's such a critical element to warehouses now. I mean, especially as, we get taller and taller with the ceilings and, all those things. So I'm curious, I mean, in that regard, I mean, there's a lot of discussion I've been seeing in the beginning of the year here around people trying to better utilize their space, their warehouse space, because we're seeing that, the rents and stuff, they're not really going down. And so people are trying to figure out how can they, do more with what they already have. And there's discussion around like ASRS. But when it comes to pallets, I mean, putting in, pallet shuttle system is challenging. But But I think there's an interesting answer there to be able to use like an automated reach truck and almost create
essentially you can turn us into an ASRS if you really wanted to, right?
Yeah.
But one thing about us too is I think you have a lot more flexibility with our solution than an ASRS, right? Huge upfront cost that you have to do.
Yeah.
And once you put that in, you better be sure that's what you want to have, right? Like that's a big piece of machinery. You can't really change it from there.
Right.
But for us, I mean, put us in there, put some racking up, and then if you want to change your racking configuration, it's as easy as us just remapping the facility, rerouting some trucks here or there, and you're up and running again in the same fashion you were.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the keys there too, though, is that if you have existing racking already, you guys can just come into play, right?
Correct. Yeah. We can come into play. We'll come out, map your facility, scan your racking, utilize your current racking you have. You don't need brand new racking, obviously. We see all sorts of different styles of racking, different shapes of racking, push back flow racking, single select, double deep, like it's all out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very key too, as well as you look at some automation solutions, because, like we mentioned the ASRS, I mean, that requires a whole lot of infrastructure, right?
Exactly.
And being able to do that, and this is a quick way to kind of get up and running around that. So tell us a little bit about kind of the motive power aspect, and we want to talk about that today.
Yeah.
Maybe, I guess first, maybe define motive power for people that aren't familiar.
So I guess motive power would essentially be the way of powering a vehicle for motion, right? Like powering a forklift.
Yes.
But then you have to think about the whole aspect of if you're installing a whole autonomous system, if you will, or shared autonomy system like us, power then becomes a big topic that you want to speak about, right? Because you have to keep your trucks powered at the same time. And then if you start running into these situations where you need to have a truck on a charger for 8 hours, it's not being utilized. So then your efficiencies drop drastically, right? And you're never going to see that ROI that people are really looking for. So that's one thing that's kind of near and dear to our hearts right now that we're trying to solve for, is the best way to overcome that challenge of not having a truck, if you will, just sitting there charging. Yeah. And we want it out running, doing tasks, moving pallets. That's where people are going to get their biggest bang for their buck. Yeah,
absolutely. A sitting truck doesn't really help you in the cost department or making money either. So I mean, I'm very interested to hear how you guys are approaching that. I mean, do you look at lead acid primarily, lithium? What's your focus there?
A lot of things that we're looking into right now, naturally in industry, most of the battery types are lead acid.
Yeah.
Some people are trying to get away from that. One, from the maintenance aspect, right? If you don't have a full fleet of trucks and you pretty much need one person that's like maintaining that fleet of trucks with the batteries, they have to water them, do all that stuff. Yeah. It can be a pain. So one thing we're looking into is like TPPL batteries, fully sealed, less maintenance, things like that. Lithium ion is a good way to go. But then on top of that, we're looking into also like the autonomous charging aspect. Right. So for us, if we can have our whole system be smart enough where, battery level on a truck drops between a certain point, you're within a certain realm of a battery charging area, like drive over there, charge yourself, then get yourself back into the autonomous motion, so that way you can be fully utilized as long as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's such a key element because, myself being, previous warehouse manager and stuff, I've certainly had those mornings where, the employee comes over and they say, oh, the last shift didn't plug in the forklift.
Yeah, then what do you do, right?
And it's just like, oh my God, why is today starting like this?
Exactly.
So, I mean, you lose productivity. So it's such a simple little task, but it's so critical.
It is, and it's something that I don't think people take into account, especially if they're doing a big automation project like this, because they're so used to just the manual aspect of, someone's driving the truck. When they get over there, they'll just plug it in after their shift's over. Yeah. But for us, we don't have that. Right. So what are you going to do, right? So if we can start to utilize the autonomous charging aspect, that drastically cuts down on needing another person in the loop, which we want that person doing something that's a lot more value add to the company than walking over and plugging in a battery, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And so are you guys looking at working with some of the wireless charging partners that are out there?
Correct, yeah. So right now, we are looking at all aspects of it, right? There's a bunch of different places we can go, but wireless charging is definitely a place that we're looking at. Yeah. And we definitely see the productivity gains and things like that you can get from them. But that's definitely the route that we're trying to go here into the future.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I think I love what's happening in that space, in the wireless charging space, because I think it's so, it's so kind of innovative, and it makes so much sense.
It does
as well. We talk about the plug-in thing, and just losing that and not being plugged in properly, or just forgetting to plug in. You just have to park, and it's getting charged.
Yeah,
and
exactly. You'd rather do a set it, forget it kind of style, right? Like a Roomba vacuum done with its job, go charge, wait for me to get you another job, right? I wish it was that simple.
Yeah.
But hopefully that's where we can get headed into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it'd be very smart to be able to do that. And obviously, we'd be interested to see, who you guys are maybe potentially working with.
Yeah.
We have some friends in the space. So,
there's definitely friends out there in the space.
Yeah, definitely.
No name drops yet, but
we'll be ready to get that name drop on the podcast in the future. But it's very interesting to see how you guys are continuing to develop that. And I think even as you look at that, the thoughtfulness around that charging aspect is all kind of, even though it's an autonomous solution, right, you're still taking into account that human element around it, right? So tell us a little bit about, I think, the human intervention aspect there. You talked a little bit about it in the beginning, that it's part of the solution. But, I mean, how does that really work, right? So there's an exception, something, maybe I guess, what would an exception be in your eyes?
So, example of an exception, say go to put something away in racking, and there's already a pallet there where you're supposed to be putting it away. Okay. What do you do?
Yeah.
Right? You can't just shove the other pallet back out of the way, right?
Yeah.
So for us, for the human in the loop there, we would ping the remote operator. They could log in, say, oh, look, pallet's in there. What do you want me to do?
Right.
From there, it's either they could take over and, move that pallet over to a triage location. Could be as simple as calling back to the WMS, getting a new updated location. They put it away from there, set it back in autonomous motion. It updates the WMS on their side.
Yeah.
Continue on your way. Just a pretty simple example there of some of the exceptions that it is. But keeping that human in the loop lets you keep moving on with your next task and not really having to go rescue the truck, drive the truck. Another good thing, too, it keeps the person off of the floor, too, because safety is still a big thing that is going on in the warehouse, right? You have other vehicles running around, other things happening, so even trying to get someone off of a truck can have big safety savings, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, too, like we should highlight more kind of the remote aspect to that there, because you mentioned that it's a remote operator. Like,
correct.
It's not running out to the floor and you're flipping like a switch on the truck and then you're manually driving it. It's remote. So talk to us a little bit about that solution.
Correct. Yeah. So it's a full setup you would have in front of you: desk, monitor, steering wheel, foot pedals, and you have the ability to log into 360-degree camera feed that we have on the truck at all times. Look around, see what's going on, be able to fully take over control, drive the vehicle, and get it out of an unsafe scenario, get it onto its next task, move a pallet wherever it might need to be, just overcome all the different things that can happen within a warehouse, right? You have shrink wrap over pockets, you have pallets that the wood breaks on, an unstable load, whatever it may be. You still want to have a human in the loop to make some of those decisions for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's such an awesome thing. And I'm curious, I mean, when you say remote, does that mean like they have to be in an office in the same warehouse, or could they be on the other side of the country?
So right now we're strictly under the same roof, and we want that from an operational standpoint. We still want them to be in tune with the operation, what all is going on from that standpoint. But that's not to say into the future they couldn't be in a different warehouse if that's what makes sense for an operation or a customer to deal with.
All right, very interesting. And I think that's so awesome to be able to have that technology and be able to elevate the person, right? And I think that's really like the overall goal for automation and robotics, is to be able to elevate the human and make them do more valuable tasks or accomplish more by just being one person. And I think that's such a key thing, and it's great to see how you guys are approaching that and doing those types of things. And I know we're closing out Manifest here at the end, but we're looking forward to Modex in about a month here as we're recording. So we have something exciting. You guys, right? For the first time ever.
First time ever at a trade show.
Yes.
We'll say that.
Yeah. Okay.
We do have a live demo that we're going to be demonstrating at Modex.
Awesome.
So swing by the booth, come look at the truck in motion, see the remote operator station, how assists work. It's really something really cool to see, and I think it will start to click with people the more that you see it in person, right? Yeah,
absolutely. And definitely looking forward to seeing that in person. And I know you guys had, I think it was at Edge, you guys had like kind of the remote demo a little bit, but you're going to have the full machine there.
We're going to have the full machine there, full truck operating. someone logging in, driving the truck remotely, watching it move autonomously.
Yeah.
All the good stuff that, we'd be doing in a production environment.
Yeah. All the stuff you want to see.
Exactly.
Right?
All the stuff everyone wants to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll definitely be looking forward to that. And I think it's fantastic the way you guys are taking a human-centric approach to the automation side of things, and, very smart the way you guys are going about it. So kudos to you and the team. And, it's been great to talk to you and learn a little bit more here.
Same to you.
Yeah. If people are interested and they can't wait until Modex, how could they find out more information about Third Wave now?
Yeah. Head to our website, thirdwave.ai. Click any link of chat with any one of us. Yeah. Feel free to reach out to me, Scott Shaffer. Find me on LinkedIn, website, wherever it may be. Yeah. Come see us at Modex. We're excited to start talking with a whole bunch of different clients and get the solution out there into the market.
Definitely, and we'll definitely put all that information at thenewwarehouse.com as well. And let's see, I'll try and stump you here at the end because Mike asked for that.
Okay.
What booth are you going to be in at Modex?
Oh, you got me there. I don't have the booth
number. I would
number.
get him there. So so we'll definitely put all that information at thenewwarehouse.com, including the Modex booth number. We'll look it up for you and throw it on there. And we're definitely excited to see that live demo in Modex as well. I'm sure we'll be capturing that for the podcast and being able to see that and share that with the audience. But if you're going to be there in person, certainly check it out. So thank you, Scott, for coming by this booth here at Manifest and talking to me about Third Wave.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.